Today's focus is both Elon's mind-boggling comment that right now they need an unlimited amount of batteries for all the initiatives they're backlogged on. We also, in specific, focus on this is the day and time that we usually do a show focused on the options set up for the coming week. So this is our options preview for the first week of August 2021. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also wanted to encourage you to join us on Patreon if you'd like better information with which to trade and invest, as well as private shows. Please join us at the top tier. You do get a whole bunch of info you don't get on the bottom because it's only the first couple or 3 days of the week that we show up there on Patreon. Prior to starting, I want to remind you of our copyright notice. Without permission, you're not allowed to copy anything said on this show without permission, and we'd appreciate that being honored so that your channel will do fine and so will mine without us having to do dramatic moves in this regard. So this show has two segments to it. The first part is we're going to finish up with what we think is a mind-blowing discussion by Elon regarding the fact that Tesla currently needs unlimited numbers of batteries for a number of reasons. So what we are going to start off today with is sort of an options preview for this week. Well, I am sort of obsessed with a number I saw as we were doing our research. If you take a look, Yahoo Finance, Tesla, and then options, scroll down to what are called the 680 puts. Now, I looked at this and we do our usual process of, okay, what do we look at in terms of options in general? And that would be, let's say within 100 points of where we are, so that'd be up to the 750s and all the way down, let's say to the 600s. So the question would be, what are the options saying at each of these price points? There's a large group of puts around 600. As usual, you'd expect there's a 650 under 5,000 was 4,000 units. And then as we get to the 700 calls, there are 20,000 units. And so it's clear that, we're above into the 720 range. We're seeing high numbers there. I believe it was 8,000 units. But you get the drift. There are a lot of people with call options targeting Tesla accelerating above 700 this week. And do we think it's going to happen? I think absolutely it's going to happen. And we really look forward to finally breaking through the 700 and moving north from there based on the 3-day rule applying to the large institutions now beginning to buy as they have permission to do so. So I'm a little bit big. So what happened is that one of the discussions we've already had is the fact that there are a large number of calls or puts at certain price points. Another caveat to this is not only are there large numbers of puts or calls, but there's a secondary question, which is, are there high volumes of them trading? So there are all these sort of data points you sort of pick up, like if you've got 5,000 calls and 100,000 have traded, action like crazy is right there. And where we are now with the 680 puts, I think is in a similar zone of all kinds of action right there. And it's pretty mind-blowing to see 3 times the number of options being traded versus the open interest. So there's a huge battle going on in terms of what's happening here. Just a reminder note, anytime you're involved in a market, the definition of a market is a difference of opinion of the value of certain things. So in this case, there's a difference of opinion, and that opinion keeps changing rapidly for the 680s. So if there was a focus for me option for the week, that would be it. Another coverage component that I wanted to review today is I want to do a shout out to Tom. I had a conversation with someone who's one of our viewers, and he trades a great deal. And I may actually start bringing him on the show once a month because the conversation was so amazing. So the reason why I thought it was a very interesting conversation was that he owns a large number of Tesla shares, and he's actually been selling both puts and calls on Tesla. And part of my objective with this conversation and about him is that you can actually buy a call, very low risk because you just purchase the call. There's no, if you will, short squeeze on you if it doesn't work out. Or there are all kinds of things you could do. You could buy a put, you could buy a call, you could sell a put, you could sell a call. The options market gives you the opportunity to do a large number of activities that can be very lucrative. So the safest form of this, and we've discussed this before, and let us know if you'd like us to dive more into this on offsite conversations, is what are called selling. There could be a covered call, there could be a covered put. I just want to focus on covered calls as my discussion here. So people who own large amounts of shares can actually sell a covered call where they basically sell an option, and it's usually chosen at a price point that they don't think it's going to get to in the time frame for when it was put out there. So for example, right now, if you wanted to, could sell an 800 call or a 900 call that expires this week. Will it get to 8 or 900? It's possible, but the percentage chance is very low. And if it's a covered call, the worst case scenario is you get your fee, but they sell you out when the stock price gets to that level, and you have to buy back in to get your shares again, would be sort of the scenario of how that would work out. So something very interesting came up in our conversation with Tom, and what he said to me was, look, when you look at things like the 600 puts that are in large count right now, above 10,000, what's actually happening is for the people who are selling those puts, what's a worst case scenario? What could happen? And the answer to it is that you can, if you sell a 600 put, Tesla's stock price would have to drop from where it is now below 600. And then what would then happen is you have to buy X number of shares of Tesla at $600 a share. So his argument was, number one, I get paid for my puts because I'm selling them. Number two, if the put gets put on me, I love Tesla, I'm focused on Tesla, and therefore I'd love to own more. So if I ended up in a bad position where a severe drop happened, I'd happily take possession of those puts. Or the puts require you to purchase a number of shares if the stock price crosses it. So I think as a fun exercise this week, you might want to consider, keep an eye out. You could do it on 650s, but 600 would be a great example. When you sell the put, they actually give you the premium immediately. And then obviously you can do whatever you want with it. There's a lot of flexibility for how you could get out of it if you needed to, for example, buy it back, etc., if the stock was moving closer to that price point. But I think his logic is sound. I believe unless the market crashes, I think there's about a 99% chance that Tesla does not go below 600 this week. And so therefore, I'm comfortable with the logic of what he shared and possibly what the outcome might be as we've described. So might be something to consider. So in general, our take on things is Tesla should end up in the minimum above 700, maximum, in the 750 range. I'm having a debate with one of our viewers regarding the fact that there's only 3% short of Tesla right now, and therefore there's a low likelihood that the stock will get a short squeeze in this situation. Yeah, I mean, in general, he's right because it is documented at 3%, but what if that number actually changes? And for a lot of stocks, the higher the stock price goes, they actually get expanded number of options or shorting that might occur, and it can happen very quickly. I have people cut back. I mean, in the old days, Tesla used to be at 25% shorted. So clearly, a large number of folks are not taking that risk right now, and it's smart. I do consider having large numbers of puts, for example, out there, a de facto short on the stock as well. It's not as risky as a naked short, but there are a lot of people that are short the stock. And you would assume a large number of those people are really just sort of insuring their portfolio. Now, I decided to sort of lead the marketing of this primarily with Elon's discussion of, and by the way, please like and subscribe if you would. We wanted to review the fact that, there's something going on here that I think is one of the big drivers for the stock price. And that is that there's been a problem with Elon and Tesla for the last couple of years, like constantly. What is that problem? The problem is the demand side. So all the production, everything that we've been focused on is having nice pictures of all the productive facilities globally and what they're doing and how they're growing, et cetera, all good information. The one piece of information that has not been readily available, other than on the Cybertruck, is what's the back order for vehicles that Tesla currently has. And so the answer has been, we don't know. And Elon is not revealing what it is. We just see a lot of factories going up. And so there are all these questions. Is he building factories hoping that the cars will be sold? Or is he building factories with a back order of large numbers of people who want to purchase the cars that will come out of those factories? Well, Elon gave a few numbers this week. One, he indicated that the mega packs, which are large utility grid scale packs that are created by Tesla, are now backlogged into the end of 2022. He also shared that the power walls are in the same position. So we're now in an interesting situation. He gave those two numbers. But what he also pointed out was that there's a situation going on where there are certain suppliers that provide batteries currently that were worried about the fact that they might be replaced by Tesla once the 4680 batteries start hitting production strides. And so Elon's response to that was, no, we do not want to slow down our purchase from you. In fact, what we'd like to do is take all of the batteries you can produce. And so I was like, wow, that is a really interesting comment, because what does the fact that somebody can take all the batteries you can produce mean? I believe it means that initially I was thinking primarily that, wow, any production that they do, they have customer demand that they're seeing for those vehicles. And so therefore, we're in an interesting position where, in theory, Tesla/Elon could go for the kill against other entities, because what he's starting to do is buy mines or open mines. So he's going backwards to really dominate the productive space for batteries. Then he made another comment that sort of blew this up a little bit. He then said, well, I want to point out that right now we're so backlogged on ground-based storage that we need all the battery production we can get. And so there's another implication here, which means that the energy side of the business could grow quite dramatically from this. So therefore, those batteries could be repurposed to that space profitably and keep the growth story of Tesla going nicely, whether they sell cars or not. The other issue here, so that's all gravy, that's awesome. In the back of my mind, what this really presents is there's this huge question mark, which is, how do competitors get to scale to compete with Tesla if Tesla is buying and producing this many batteries? And the answer is, all of the major OEMs have relief from Tesla currently, because there is no, they don't have to compete, because the 2-3% portion of the market that EVs represent globally is too small to be a threat to those larger businesses. That, I think, is going to start changing over the next couple of years as Tesla ramps up these new factories and consumers start switching over to EVs. But it's kind of interesting to watch because it can take 2 or 3 years to build a battery factory. And if Tesla has this giant lead, they're going to be able to undercut competitor prices significantly with ease and still make a nice profit margin. So I think this is lining up to be a potential nightmare for Tesla competitors as we go forward. So I think it's exciting times for Tesla. I think there are a number of elements like what I just described that analysts have to get their arms around and put a dollar number to. And this is one of the reasons why there are multiple elements of why Tesla's stock price should rise right now, because there is something called core operating fundamentals, and Tesla's core operating fundamentals are excellent. And therefore, the market needs to recognize those fundamentals and the implications of the fundamentals that they have advantages on in terms of what their stock price is, what their potential for growth is, etc. So keeping an eye on the backlog of a company can be a great way to understand where it's going, because they're really building to that backlog, and Tesla is now starting to reveal what that backlog looks like. So it may be something to consider in your investing process, etc. The number of different tentacles Tesla has out there that are starting to hit stride, and I believe it's going to be a bonanza for the stock in the process. So, at any rate, we want to thank you for joining us. This evening. We wish you the best of luck on trading this week and investing. I think it's going to be one of the biggest weeks of the year for Tesla, or the next couple of weeks, as we get a chance to see what institutions think of the implications of all the new information and the huge beat that Tesla experienced this week. The one question mark I want to leave with you, and I look forward to any comments you guys want to share at the end of the show, is, I'm kind of stunned right now, because if you look at the difference between the attitude of the hedge funds and the large institutions on purchase, when you think of the three-day rule as we came up with that, it was just weird that all those hedge funds were saying, in essence, we don't care what you're doing, Tesla. And all of a sudden, the large institutions are saying, we care, we love the underlying fundamentals, and it validates us doing more investing in the stock as a result. So, I think it's going to be interesting to watch how this plays out. So, a bonus guitar pluck here. I wanted to transition to our usual health tips. Again, I wanted to go back to the core training, because there's a whole list of what we have below if you want to read about some of our recommendations when it comes to health tips. I am particularly focused on the core training in terms of the difference it makes daily, but highly recommend not eating within 4 hours of eating, minimum 2 to let the food digest. Also wanted to encourage you to consider 2-5 or other fasting diets. I think you'll find this very helpful in your health maintenance process. And we also want to encourage you to not have anything more than a salad prior to lovemaking, to minimize the potential impact of this in terms of blood flow. If you have a large meal, the focus of the body is on digesting and transporting that large meal, whereas if you have a salad, that blood flow can go to other extremities to enjoy to increase your enjoyment of your activities. Any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, Lehitro, Hebrew, Choda Hefes, Farsi, Strazice, Russian, Ni Hao Ma, Chinese, and in Jamaica we say, enough respect, walk good, salam. I can't forget our request for those folks as well, and namaste, Hindi.